Okay, hello and welcome to Chaotic Risk TV. I am Jason J. Rock Houston, and today we're talking with MGM, which stands for Michael J Miller. That's a great way to brand the band. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked. In my past recording history, I've started other bands that had a band name
Yeah,
and also a lead singer or whatever. And I found that my identity could all of a sudden be shut down
yeah,
when, say, a lead singer leaves the group and he can't be replaced.
yeah.
Um, a number of things like that have happened in the past, or you have to fire somebody or whatever. But anyways, at one point, I finally decided I've always been the songwriter
Yeah,
for
yeah.
all my albums, um, but under another band name. So it was about 20 years ago. I decided to just go solo. Like, well, I'm still doing the same thing I always
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I have a band, but I call it my own name. That way, nobody can change it on me. No one can take that away from me. And I'm the lead singer, and I'm not going to abandon myself.
What I love about it, Michael, is it's so simple. You know how often bands search, and it's one of the hardest things to do is come up with a band name. I love it that it's so. The only person I ever know that legally had their name taken from them was Don Dokken. Yeah.
Really?
Well, I mean, when he broke up with the original Dokken band, they
Yeah.
they took him to court and he couldn't call it Dokken, so he just had to call it Don Dokken.
Well, that really sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Um,
too bad. I
you
guess
know,
maybe he signed some sort of papers that gave
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
license to the name.
yeah. And another interesting thing is that in prepping for interview day, I went on YouTube and was checking it out. I urge people that not familiar with it to do this. You have Michael J Miller YouTube full album collection. That's a great place. People can kind of learn who MJM is, what the music's all about.
Yeah, yeah, I've got it everything on there, so it's pretty cool. There's
And let's talk.
37 videos.
Yeah, to me, it sounds like great '80s hard rock, which I am, of course, a huge fan of. You got a lot of people today would be like, "Oh, that's a throwback to yesterday." But when I think about it, you're staying true to who you are. You're not trying to change who you are.
Well, that's for sure. I really, I'm comfortable just making the music I've always made.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to turn into a rapper.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, even like when grunge hit big in the '90s, you had a lot of the bands, from back in the day. Um, they all of a sudden wanted to put on flannel and try to be all grunge and change the sound and look. But for most people,
100%.
I don't think that worked too well. It's all about staying true to who you are.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that point. The 90s, there was a serious uh, shift in what was being presented as the trending music. And
Yeah, yeah,
as you said, it was the lumberjackets or the flannel shirts
yeah,
and no stage presence really. And they also removed the lead guitar solos
yeah,
and vocal range also dropped down a lot too. Um, I kind of grew up with artistic music, which
yeah,
was a lot of it was from the 70s and 80s, right? There's
yeah.
really great guitar playing, great vocals, good songs, good production, and nothing really hack about it. It was always good. Any of the good stuff was actually really good.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I think that's what's really missing from a lot of music today. I mean, back in the '80s, every band had, the so-called guitar hero, and then
Yeah.
come the '90s, they get rid of all the we don't do solos anymore. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that happened. For sure. I noticed that as soon as it was going on the radio, it seemed to be it was dismaying to me actually.
yeah,
I thought, well, why did I learn to play the guitar so great when
yeah,
people
yeah.
start, geez, I can just play some chords and sing. But no, I still put leads in my stuff.
I mean,
And
that's what I noticed about all your stuff is very guitar oriented, very guitar driven.
yeah, yeah, that's really the true nature of my style and sound is my guitar playing. And that's what I write my songs with is my guitar. right?
I mean, I take it you're a guitarist at heart. I mean, just looking at the, what's behind you, you got a whole collection of guitars.
Yeah, yeah, and there's more. I can only
Yeah,
picture
that's
them
just
on the
that
wall.
we haven't even scratched the surface. So, how old were you like when you first picked up a guitar and learned how to play?
I started at the age of 9 with
Oh,
formal lessons.
was it like a lot of kids that took it up in school and then you fell in love with it, or were you kind of forced to take the lessons?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now that you bring that memory forward, actually, yeah, I wanted to play the drums.
Oh,
And my parents wouldn't have let me have drums because they were too loud. And I said, okay, well, get me an electric guitar then. And they said, okay, but then the next thing you know, I got an acoustic guitar for Christmas. So
wow,
I
wow.
kind of bummed out. But nonetheless, I was thankful for it and I took it seriously. And I learned, and I had a good teacher at that age too, which was nice. He was a
Yeah.
good teacher. And shortly after, I know it sounds crazy, but shortly after starting the guitar, I started to get ideas in my mind.
There
I
you
would get songs just floating up here, and I'd go to my guitar and try to find where those chords were. And it was an early start
go. Yeah.
at trying to take my inspirations and turn them into actual guitar sections that would make a song,
Oh,
right?
sure. And
Yeah.
the Van Halens had that story where Eddie started out on the drums and Alex started out as a guitar player, and it was Alex who said, Ed, I think you're a little better on the guitar than me, so why don't we switch?
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, that's a good story. I didn't know that.
yeah. That's to talk about rock and roll history there. Who were some of your heroes as far as guitar playing?
Well, Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath has
There
always
you
been
go,
my
Riffmaster.
ultimate sound,
Yeah,
and I just love everything he does. He's so good. Um, there was Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, of course.
oh, sure.
Johnny Winter, believe it or not,
Oh,
Johnny
wow.
Winter, great Texas blues rock player. Right, his playing was fantastic. That actually, it's Johnny Winter that actually made me really go, wow, a guitar can be played
Texas
like
blues,
crazy.
huh? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually some of his riffs are some of the first riffs that I learned before I was even in high school. I was trying to figure out his riffs, like I was in grade 8 or whatever. Plus, I actually had a band that uh, I joined in grade 8 when I was in grade 8, and it went through high school, and we were doing high school concerts, and I got to be the rock star in high school at
There
grade
you
in
go.
grade 9 and 10. It was cool.
And were you always a singer as well, or did you kind of morph into singing once you started writing your own songs?
Um, I've always sang, but the concept of the should I say the range that the vocalist used during 80s music was
Yeah,
up more in a tenor kind of range,
yeah,
and I didn't think I had that range didn't seem like I could do it, so
yeah.
I looked for a singer. So my first recording act was Rapid Tears, right?
Okay, yeah.
And we did a few albums and got a lot of good response from television and radio station. A lot of fan mail from around the world, like real letters coming in, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, that was I used as a lead singer then because
yeah.
the tone of vocalists were of a higher range,
Yeah.
right? Like the Freddie Mercury stuff and whatever, Steven
That
Tyler.
takes a certain a certain talent to be able to kind of have that ego where you can say, okay, maybe I can write the songs, but I can't really. I don't think I can sing these type of songs. And so on that level, I was curious. Being the guy that wrote a lot of songs, were you really critical of the singer, or did you tell him, okay, these are my songs, these are how I want you to sing them, or did you allow him to do his magic?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
The singer in Rapid Tears was his name is Brian Frank, and we're still friends. Actually working on some new stuff. But yes, to answer that question, I always had an idea
yeah,
to offer him. I would I'd get together with just the singer and I'd play the guitar part and do what's called an Aztec vocal. kind
Yeah. Yeah.
of and and just kind of sing the phrasing and the phrasing. The last thing that would come to me were the actual words. So I
Okay.
would just use an Aztec vocal with a phrasing and a mumble of kind of the notes and the pattern that I wanted. And we'd sit together with we both have a notepad, and
Yeah.
he'd start jotting stuff down, or I'd maybe have a few lines that I could start it with, and he'd build on that, or we would feed off each other's lines and kind of
Okay.
construct the
Yeah.
lyrics together. This is when we first started. Then a little later on, I would give him ideas, and he would just go off and write the lyrics,
Yeah.
right?
And that's got to be a kind of a great honor that you know you're creating this song and then somebody else you know takes your creation and they do their magic with it, their interpretation, if you will.
Yes, it was. It was nice to see what came out of it too. And
The reason I asked that is because I've heard Dave Mustaine tell the story over years of when he was fired from Metallica and formed Megadeth. Originally, he wanted to, you know, he'd auditioned other singers. He just wanted to be a guitar player, but the problem he was coming across was he could not find a singer that he felt could sing his songs the way he heard them in his head.
I can totally agree with that. I know where he's coming from for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, if I had a song and I gave it to 10 different singers and
yeah,
didn't tell
yeah,
them any of my ideas, I would
yeah.
get 10 different songs back,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
interpretations. Yeah.
And then
So
that's quite a process. Like, okay, how do I between those 10 selections pick the best version?
yeah, the chances are none of them would be what you were thinking, or maybe some would.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I always like to have, as I said, a sort of phrasing and a note
yeah,
range that I'm imagining that the vocals should kind of be formatted over.
yeah.
Yeah.
And being that you weren't always a front man, I was curious. Once it came to forming MJM, what was that process like for you from going to being, you know, a songwriter, guitar player to you're now the front man? All eyes are on you.
um, to be honest with you, what I did is I put together a Beatles tribute
Okay.
uh, just so I could get used to singing 30 or 40 songs a night
Oh wow.
and really work my voice and get used to be the man that talks to the
Yeah.
crowd.
Yeah.
So that worked well because that act got booked a lot, and
You know,
I
people
became
laugh
quite.
at tribute acts, but I tell you, I've been a big supporter for years of the tribute acts because, first of all, it takes a certain level of talent to me. I'm a guy, no musical talent whatsoever. So anybody that can get up on stage and do what you do, or any other musician does, I have a huge level of respect. But you know, a lot of people start out doing other people's music, okay,
Most
and
certainly.
and it's a great way to keep your chops up. So I really enjoy the ones, especially who take it to the extra mile and dress the part too. It's what I call rock and roll theater. I've been to many
Yeah.
of these shows. It's fun. In fact, next week I'm going to interview this guy that he's just launching a Peter Frampton uh, tribute, and during the interview he's going to dress the part, and it's looking forward to it. It's going to be a ton of fun. But
That will
uh,
be.
so you know, tribute bands are big business these days.
Yeah, and a lot of they are big business these days.
Yeah,
But I think that every musician, as much as I started writing songs at a very early age, I also learned cover songs, and I think that
yeah,
every musician will learn how music is crafted or
yeah.
constructed from um, analyzing cover like good hit songs.
Oh
They
sure.
have something to reveal, and if you have to learn a bunch of good songs, you'll start to learn the structures or the possibilities in the structure of a song that works.
Yeah.
And every musician learns from other musicians.
I mean, a great example of that is look at Quiet Riot in the 80s. They had a huge hit with Come On
Bang the
Feel the
Noise.
Noise, which
Oh
was a
yeah.
Slade song. And then they had such success with that, the producer said at the next, you know what? Since you had such a huge hit, let's cover another Slade song with Mama, We're All Crazy Now, you know?
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't even I I didn't remember that it was those were Slade songs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, that's the thing.
Really?
And talking a little bit about Quiet Riot, they that's such a great version of those Slade songs that I dare say they really own the songs. And if you talk to anybody today, they probably think "Come On Feel the Noise" is a Quiet Riot song.
I did too. I forgot.
Yeah.
I actually saw Slade when they released the Slade.
Yeah.
They had a Slade Alive album, didn't they?
Yeah.
And, Slade Alive.
Yeah. And in fact, I remember I had a chance once to interview Frankie Banelli, and he was telling me the story. He goes, "Yeah, he goes, here's the thing." He goes, "When we covered those Slade songs, Slade was kind of like at the very end of their career, and he says, so we got the fame, but Slade got all the money." And he said, rightfully so.
That's nice of them to put it that way.
Yeah, and another great cover of it just recently came out a couple years back was the Humble Pie song 30 Days on Hold. The Dead Daisies did a great cover of that. And Glenn Hughes, he kills it.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah. But when you get a chance, Michael, go on YouTube and type in, Slade, Come On Feel the Noise, and you'll hear the original version. And Kevin DuBrow, he almost sounds like Naughty Holzer on it.
I'm going to have to do that. I'm very curious now.
Yeah.
I probably heard it a 1,000 times when I was.
Well, the funny thing about Slade, their biggest hit in their career was actually the Christmas song they did. And about that, the Christmas song actually went to #1, but the name of it is kind of it's just on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it right now. But because your songs are so great. Another thing I really, besides the songs being guitar driven, I noticed you're a great writer. I mean, and I think for any band or artist to have any kind of success, you got to have songs. If you don't have good songs, that's the thing. I mean, Dogs of War, that's one of my favorites. Really stood out. I mean, it's great 80s hard rock. It's kind of got a metal twist to it. I mean, it doesn't sound like Slayer, don't get me, but it kind of reminds me of like a heavier Def Leppard track.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
you want to talk at all about that song? Because it's an interesting song, I thought.
Well, thank you for liking the song. Yeah, it's a cool concept. I've noticed there's about 20 other songs called Dogs of War. Pink Floyd have one, Saxon have one, I think Motorhead have one.
And
But it was a song about how men will go to the war for their country, and war is driven by the people, the leaders that never have to go out and fight.
It's not their son and daughter being killed, right?
Yeah. It's pretty sad. So that's the point that we're making in that song.
Yeah, and a lot of these songs that I listen to, you're a great storyteller, and I think that's what makes for a great writer.
Thank you.
The Chase, again, another kind of fast, heavy, guitar-driven song. It's instrumental, and the thing that I really picked up on that song is, unless you're Steve Vai or Joe Satriani, it's hard to really keep somebody's attention with a instrumental track, but you seem to be able to do it here.
Very well put. I remember talking to a manager a little while ago, this years back, telling him that I plan to release a total instrumental album, and he said it's going to be hard to sell no matter how good it is.
Yeah.
Instrumental albums are hard to sell.
Yeah.
So, I never actually wound up doing that. What we did is we put I had a pile of instrumentals that were all very guitar themed, and I put a few on each album. And then back a few years ago, as we were getting ready to do MJM4, I said to the producer, "We've got to do something to fill the void here. Let's release an instrumental album, a collection of all the instrumentals from
there you go
past albums, right? And plus, I had a couple new ones that were going on the MJM4 album. I said, let's finish these and add them to the collection as bonus tracks, and we released MJM Instrumental. And I'm proud of it. It's a great collection.
Again, great marketing, great way to do it. I mean, because if you do it the way the initial concept is, let's just put out all the great instrumentals. That's a great thing for the fans, and they're going to love it. But it's almost like a greatest hits collection, whereas your way of doing it, we're getting all of those other instrumental versions everybody's heard from all the other albums, but you're giving them some bonus tracks, something a little extra.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit of an incentive for people to
Yeah,
look forward to what's coming next.
yeah,
Give
yeah,
you a
yeah.
little
There you
flavor.
go. There you
Yeah,
go. And another, all these songs and all your songs, I notice when I listen to them, it's interesting because they all sound like they could fit on the same album together, but the songs each stand out on their own. They're very, I think any of these songs you could release as a single and people would dig it. Uh, Yet at the same time, each track kind of has a different feel, a taste of its own. Often when somebody writes a song, they say it's a page out of their, of their life. That's what this sounds like.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, they're all pages, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah,
The cool thing about the instrumentals is each one has a theme, a very signature, a recognizable signature type of guitar theme
yeah.
that comes back, kind of like a vocal chorus, but it's the
Sure,
guitar
sure.
that's singing to you, right? And that's what I made sure was one of the strong points of the instrumental stuff. It wasn't just some guy
Yeah,
playing progressive compositions and freaking out in his
yeah,
guitar to a song that you couldn't follow. I wanted to make sure they were still written
yeah,
in a kind of a strong standard song format where there
yeah.
weren't too many parts and it stuck to the theme and it
Yeah,
stayed
it took me
strong.
back to the very first time I heard the David Lee Roth song "Yankee Rose" off his first solo album.
Oh
It
yeah,
Steve Vai, the guitar player, he's literally, it's like he's talking to me through the guitar. I never heard anything like that before, you know.
great.
Uh, and the thing is, like with these instrumental tracks too, I think it's unique um, compared to a song that has vocals and lyrics. Is with an instrumental piece, it's not necessarily telling a particular story, whereas it might be more based on a feeling, an emotion. It could
Yeah,
be almost, it could be inspired by almost anything.
that's very true. A guitar played well can trigger emotions and thoughts just
Yeah,
like lyrics can,
yeah, yeah,
but they're the guitar speaking to you in notes with nice tone that creates a feeling.
yeah. Because
And that,
in my experience, when I'm listening to music, what I find is, um, like typically I listen to hard rock and metal, but I'll tell you what, I also have an appreciation for stuff like the Beatles, Tom Petty, the Eagles. You know why? Great songwriting, great songs. These are songs been played on the radio 40 or 50 years. People still listen to them. There's a reason for that.
that's for sure. I agree. I have to say that the Beatles are my most respected band of all time
Oh, sure.
because what they did to the evolution of rock music uh, will never be done again.
Oh,
And
yeah,
they're the guys that did it. If you look at their earliest recordings from like The Taste of Honey or
yeah, yeah.
Love Me Do up into the White Album and beyond, like Happiness is a Warm Gun or Dear Prudence,
Yeah,
like
oh,
they
sure. Yeah, yeah,
really changed. They really changed. They really took music. It may have had to do with the hippie culture
yeah,
and maybe whatever drugs were going
yeah,
on, whatever. But things really evolved, and they went from being a pop artist to being these very creative uh, artists that were like taking people to a whole new
yeah.
place in their
Yeah,
consciousness.
they got to a point where they could do almost anything. I mean, so much to the point that many people listening to this, when they hear Helter Skelter, they think it's a Motley Crue song. No,
Ah,
it's a Beatles song, and the thing
yeah,
is, with that, I mean, that just goes to show you that that's as metal as the Beatles ever got. And, at the
yeah,
same time, you look at a band like Queen, they got everything from Killer Queen, which is almost rock and roll vaudeville, to, Somebody to Love, Bohemian Rhapsody, We Will Rock You. So they're all over the map, and to me, that's what great songwriting is.
yeah, yeah. That's very true with Queen, especially. It's
And,
funny because I was just reading some quotes from Brian May yesterday.
and,
I won't mention them, but so that's an immediate thing in my
yeah,
memory. Just
yeah.
talking about them.
And the other thing I was going to say is, in my experience listening to music, when I'm listening to a song that has lyrics, not only, if it's a catchy tune, not only do I find myself often, singing along to a song, but I'm listening to the lyrics. I'm trying to decipher. Okay, what's he writing about? What's the song about? What's the story? Whereas if it's an instrumental piece, it's not so much about that. It's more about how it makes me feel or the vibe.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
The guitar is sort of telling a little story, but it's made of notes.
In a different way. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
neat.
And another one of the songs, "Power of Life." That's I call it hard rock melody, but it's a great tune that I could easily see being played on the radio. You know.
I'm surprised that you mentioned that song. It's one of the different kinds of songs, as you mentioned, variety. That is
That's what I kind of like
variety.
about it. It's kind of different. Yeah.
Yeah. I used an instrument called here. I'll grab it and show it to you. I
Sure,
shouldn't play
sure,
it though,
sure.
because it'll be right out of tune.
Yeah, yeah.
It's called a quattro.
Oh, wow, wow.
Yeah, this is the quattro, and if you look at it, it has you get some good lighting.
Yeah, we can see it. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it has 10 strings,
Wow.
um, 5 doubles.
Oh,
Okay, and
okay.
it's tuned differently than a guitar,
Wow.
but it sounds like a 12 string that's kind of that has kind of a ethnic sound similar
Okay.
to
Wow.
Indian music. It actually originates from Brazil.
Oh, wow.
And so I wrote that song, Power of Life, by finding this instrument and grabbing it when it was in some weird tuning.
Wow.
And I started to like doing the normal guitar chords on it and
Wow.
getting really weird combinations
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
notes. And I went, hey, those notes are different and they're great. And I actually wrote the beginning of that song. I wrote the chords for it right
Yeah.
in a music store when I saw this thing. I
Wow.
started playing it and I came up with the chords right then, just fooling around with it. And I said, I have to buy this. I got to take it home. And I went home that night and I remember my chords and I went to work on that song. And so the instrument actually inspired that. The instrument and
How
the tune
cool. What a
inspired
great
that song.
story that is. I love that. And have you ever played that song live?
Um, no, we haven't because um,
It's so different, huh?
well, there's a bit. It's kind of a studio produced song, and there's
Yeah,
we need a few extra guitars and
yeah.
instrumentalists um, to pull it off live. I don't unless we used a bunch of backing tracks or something. I don't think there's enough
Yeah,
band
okay.
members to do everything.
Another one I liked is "Love's the Crime."
Oh,
Great,
great!
great guitar-driven song to me. Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
That's now there's a song that tells a story. Have you looked at the video on YouTube for that song?
I didn't get a chance, but I will later when we get done with this. Yeah,
Yeah, it's neat. The concept love is a crime is how much it can. Well, love can be great, but it can also make you feel really bad.
yeah,
You can feel like you're in a prison at times because of how things went
yeah,
in the relationship. And anyways, the video is made of a bunch of pages
yeah.
from romance uh, comics.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, wow.
Yeah, you take a look at it. You probably
We'll
will
check it out. Yeah,
recognize a lot of the pages, right? And
yeah,
each
great.
page
Yeah,
kind of has to do with the lyrics.
yeah. Another kind of tune that's got a great '80s rock feel to it is "She's a Party Doll." I mean, again, I just listened to it initially just because I love the title.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
just a fun song.
that's a
And so
good one live.
yeah. So let me ask you. That's the next question. Have you been playing out live, or what are your plans as far as future playing, touring and that?
Well, we've done some, as you know, COVID had shut things
Of
down
course, yeah, yeah,
for yeah. So once things opened up, and I mean, at first when things opened up, they were allowing a bar capacity of 25%,
oh
and
sure,
they had to have plexiglass screens in front
yeah.
of the stage. We just went, forget it. I don't want to play
I
that.
mean, yeah,
You
I'm with
drag.
you. I mean, I'm in California. We had a governor, still do at the time, that was going on TV bragging about, oh, we may never allow there to be concerts, or we may shut down all the movies. This is something he's going on TV bragging about. But luckily, it didn't, come to that. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it was a strange, slow comeback here. As I said, the audience capacity could only be at 25%. It's not fun playing to an empty place.
Yeah.
It's a drag.
I
So
really
we
think
kind
that
of,
one thing is it taught us the need for live entertainment, the need to get out of the house. I mean, it's
yeah,
fun to stay home for a while, but after 2 years of it, you get really bored, you know?
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was glad to see things open up. So when they started saying, okay, bars can run at full capacity, that's when I started booking ourselves. So we did a few shows over the fall, and then we started working on a new single that is going to be released within the next month, right?
Oh,
It's called
great.
Live It Up. Yeah.
Oh,
Now, and the
well,
way we're actually going to go about things this time, because with marketing and sales, the things have really changed.
yeah, sure.
Um, it's there's still going to be an album, but we're going to release the songs one at a time.
That's the modern way now. Yeah.
That's the way it goes. It's a singles economy. People don't even have the time to listen to a full album unless they really respect the artist, right?
Yeah.
But they'll listen to a single, and that's how Spotify works too. Like
Oh,
they
sure.
want singles. So we're gonna just do it, like you can't beat them, join them. So we're gonna do it that way, and that way, actually, people are gonna get something from us a little more regularly instead of waiting until we completed our full next album.
Well, there you go. Well, Michael J Miller, MJM, I'd like to thank you for coming to Chaotic Risk TV today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And I do want to say already that if you like the way this went today, I'd like to welcome you back when the single comes out and we can have another conversation about that because I'm a big supporter of your music and what you're doing. And you're welcome here anytime. So thanks for talking to us today. And we'll be seeing you soon down the line. The interview I'm probably going to be posted probably in the next week or two. We will be sure to let you know when it goes up. Feel free to share it on any of your sites. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up today?
Well, that was very nice, Jason. Thank you for everything you just said. When the single is ready, I'll make sure that you know about it.
Okay.
And I would certainly enjoy doing another interview with you.
And in fact, in the next interview, not only will we talk about the new single, but I think would make for a fun conversation as you were just starting to say about the modern way of marketing yourself and a single versus an album.
Yeah, it's just the way things are now.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Michael. You take care of a nice rest of the day. We'll be talking to you, okay?
You too, Jason.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.